From the Pittsburgh Hockey Now and Pittsburgh Sports Live and Pittsburgh Hockey Now studios high above Market Square. Hey, I'm Dan Kingerski. It is another live Penguins chat here from the studios this time. So I've got lots of cool graphics. I guess since we last talked, the Penguins have signed this guy. This morning, this guy signed Teddy Blueger. This guy is still a Pittsburgh Penguin. This guy is not yet signed, and and you can hear the ad playing before the video to most of you. Yes, that's right. My little guy, my grandson Leo, turned 1. There's the present I got him. It's actually a metal car like they made in the 1940s. Oh, he thought that was pretty cool. I mean, he really can't ride it just yet, but he thought it was pretty cool. He also got some pound cake, smash cake, whatever you want to call it. Started off pretty well, you know. Leo, it's like, okay, I can handle this. I can handle this. I get to eat cake. Even gave him a spoon. Let him try that out for a few minutes. But it didn't go so well for too long. The smash cake, yeah. But a good time was had by all on Leo's first birthday. I can't wait until he's old enough when all of us hockey people can yell, Leo! And then show him Columbus Blue Jackets games. I can't wait to take him to one of those. Anywho, can you see them? I'm going to pull them back into the shot here. Oh, Bob and Doug McKenzie with us, as well as Rowdy Piper. That's what... There, I've got the whole setup. It's been a while since we've been in here. Of course, what we'll talk about today is the Penguins' offseason is stuck in neutral. They did get Teddy Blueger off the to-do list this morning, $750,000. That reduces their realistic salary cap number to about 1.5, give or take a little bit of change. There's always a few things we don't know about, and you know, I'm not doing the to the dollar math. Let's just use 1.5, and I derive that by assuming the Penguins right now have 8 NHL defensemen plus Marcus Pettersson left to sign. Since you've come with me this far, let me drop a little bit of knowledge on you. I haven't published this yet. Once Teddy Blueger signed this morning, I went diving into my bag of sources, and I was beating the bushes. Let me kind of give you a little bit. This is my reading on it. Nobody really wanted to talk this morning. So Blueger, I surmise, took the offer that was given to him. He declined arbitration. Teddy Blueger and his camp most likely figured they knew where they stood. 28 NHL games at 24 years old. You don't have a lot of bargaining power. Had he gone to arbitration and won, say, $1 million or $1.1 million, $1.2 million maybe even, the Penguins can walk away. And now you're a free agent in August. Not the best. So you take a great situation, you prove yourself, and I think that's what Blueger did. Now, the other two restricted free agents, Zach Aston-Reese, Marcus Pettersson. Things are quiet on the Marcus Pettersson front. Nothing. I could be being snowballed on that one. It happened to me last year. I got snowballed by a source who was like, oh, no, nothing's happening. And then bang, it literally happened the next morning. That person apologized and said, yeah, I couldn't tell you, sorry. So it goes in this line of work, right? But I really do believe the source who said, yeah, nothing happening on the Pettersson front. The Penguins just can't get there, so they're not getting everybody's hopes up, and they're not going to force their own hand, so to speak. The Zach Aston-Reese situation is a little bit different. He's got an arbitration hearing in less than a week. It behooves both sides to avoid going into that meeting room and beating the crap out of each other. Especially, I don't think the Penguins want to, suplex Zach Aston-Reese at this point in his career. They just don't want to beat him up. And they'll have to, because literally every single dollar at this point matters to the Penguins. $100,000 in the grand scheme of $81.5 million is nothing. When you're this close to the cap, $100,000 each way can make a huge difference. It behooves both sides to come together. What our source was, I got the sense it was a little bit cryptic. Still working was the response we got. And so I'm like, okay, does that mean you're close? Does that mean you're far away? No, it can't get any more information other than it's still a work in progress. So read from that what you will. That's the inside dirt, and I appreciate you diving on to the Penguins live chat. Do me a favor, hit that comment box on the left side. I do read everything. Hit that little thumbs up button, and share as you can. Let's make this, spread it around social media as much as possible. And by the way, check out the GM for a Day contest on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. We're into day 2. I thought today's submissions were the two heavyweights of the field. They both went through detail of the lineup, what they liked, what they didn't like. Patrick Pornquist and Joshua went through it, so check out their hard work, please. And hey, comment and like and even disagree. The only thing I ask is, look, these folks aren't professional. They're not getting paid to do this. They entered a contest. So just, anything you disagree with, it's okay to say, I disagree, constructively. I got unfollowed with impetus yesterday by one guy because he started complaining that day one didn't understand things. I was like, listen, don't be bagging on these people. If you disagree, point out why, but don't insult them. I'm unfollowing you. It's like, well, good. I don't need jackasses following me on Twitter. I'm enough of a jackass for all of us. As Dog and Bob's Mackenzie, Bob and Doug, their beer falls. All right, so let's hit the comments here. Z Smooth wanted to get ahead. Said, we will not win a Stanley Cup as long as Jack Johnson is on the team. It's good to see my months of lectures and diagramming plays for you and showing you what you don't know, or maybe some of you don't understand about some of the deeper X's and O's, and providing some inside insights. Good to see all that's been completely wasted. All right, Bob and Doug have to go away. I keep knocking them over. I have to move forward here. All right. Yep. More. Johnson has to go. Why? Explain. No. You know what? We're not doing a Jack Johnson show today. I'm tired of you. Just let go. Breathe. Let knowledge in. Let knowledge in instead of holding on to what you thought in the past. Quit listening to people who don't know any more than you do. Start doing the opposite. Sign Brock Besser. Oh, it's good to see the crazies have returned. I don't know what I'd do without you, Kyle. All right, so we just did the RFA thing. Jack Johnson very well might not be with the Pittsburgh Penguins next season. But just something compels me to not let bad opinions tar him. There's a lot of people who kind of think they know hockey who just have corkscrewed him, and it's kind of gotten infuriating at times. I've wanted to almost call some people out and say, look, if you knew half of what you thought, let me explain it to you. But so I'll do my diagram stuff. Hey, look, here you go. Take it for what you will. Actually, what you think happened didn't happen. What happened is what you didn't know, or what you think happened. Anyway, Jack Johnson might not be a Pittsburgh Penguin next season, and that is because he is really one of two players in that tweener salary area. Patrick Hornquist at over $5 million. Hornquist is a huge cog in the Penguins. To trade him, you really would have a big hole in the lineup. Yes, he had a rough second half. Let something go, would you? Between injuries, frustration, slump, not every season is rainbows and candy corn, you know? He had a rough second half. He got healthy, he got some rest, and look what he did at the World Championships. He tore it up. Dollars to donuts, he tears it up again next season. Don't forget, he scored 15 goals in the first 35 games last season. Really, someone would have to make a great offer for Patrick Hornquist. So that really leaves Jack Johnson, Brian Rust, maybe Eric Goodbranson, although, look, Johnson is not a fighter. He's not a pushback guy. He's a rough defenseman. I mean, he makes people pay for coming into the defensive zone. But Johnson doesn't necessarily protect the stars. If somebody watched Goodbranson's play the second half of last season when he was with the Penguins and made a decent offer, it could go that way too. Tell you the truth, I also wonder if the Penguins don't have to sacrifice Marcus Pettersson. I've wondered this. It's not anything I've heard. That's not coming from inside info. That's me looking at everything. And Pettersson was very good with Jack Johnson. Pettersson was very good with Eric Goodbranson. Schultz and Johnson were also a decent pairing. Could the Penguins take a gamble on fitting in Juuso Riikola with Goodbranson? Could they take a gamble on, I don't think Trotman Goodbranson would be much of a deal. But it's kind of what the league is pushing the Penguins toward. I mean, all things considered, the Penguins can make sacrifices to get below that $81.5 million without a big trade. If they rolled with 13 forwards and 7 defensemen, they'll be okay. And they'll have to flip Casey DeSmith and Tristan Jarry. If they did that, they would squeak under the salary cap with just about $100,000, as I think I wrote about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. If they did all of those things, Trotman and Ruedel, there's $1.4 million. The difference between Jarry and DeSmith is about, well, let's assume somebody would claim DeSmith on waivers, which wouldn't be ideal, but let's assume that happens and the Penguins don't have DeSmith. They would capitalize about $575,000. So that's 1.9. Actually, let's round numbers. Let's call that $2 million. They would save by those 2 moves. $2 million plus the 1.5 they've already got. That's 3.5. Zach Aston Reese is probably going to eat up about 1.2. That leaves 2.3. Hockey Graphs says Marcus Pettersson will sign for about 1.6. My gut says closer to $2 million. There you go. Ta-da! That's how it can be done, and the Penguins would be locked and loaded for bear with all of their important pieces. And I quite frankly would be a little bit excited to see Tristan Jarry in the NHL get 35 starts next season. That, I think, would be really interesting, especially with Matt Murray heading towards free agency. The Penguins sent the message in the middle of last season, don't remember. Even after Murray came back in December, there was still a big game. Was it against the Capitals? In which Mike Sullivan gave DeSmith the nod. That was a clear shot across Murray's bow, like, let's get going here. You've played well a couple games, but I'm not going to hand you the starter's job. Even Sullivan's language in December was more of a show me, Matt Murray, rather than, oh, thank God Matt Murray is back. Now, DeSmith started that game, and the Matt Murray who defeated Marc-Andre Fleury in the goalie challenge for 2 seasons showed up in the second half last season. I almost wonder if Tristan Jarry wouldn't serve the same purpose, make Murray just a bit uncomfortable. you know? The guys who were in Wilkes-Barre with Jari tell the stories. They forget he's a goaltender because he hangs out with the guys. He's a locker room glue guy. So that would be interesting, wouldn't it? To make Matt Murray uncomfortable and save between $475,000, which is what would happen if DeSmith went to Wilkes-Barre and the Penguins kept him. The Penguins would save $475,000. If another team claimed him, I think it would be just about $575,000. All right. Let me get back to the message board here. Got it? Okay, sorry. I've been neglecting you all. All right, Corey has to catch me later. Have fun. Trade Jack Johnson to Calgary for TJ Brody. I'm not opposed to seeing the Penguins make a run at the Calgary, either of the Calgary defensemen, TJ Brody or Travis Hamonic. Hamonic is a more defensive right side defenseman, but he makes $3.85. Less than Goodbranson. Well, less than Justin Schultz. Just saying. Okay. Matthew Clark says, is Galchenyuk going to get top 6, or do I think they want him on the third line for depth? I think him and Malkin could be good together. You know what, Matthew? You're going to see both. I guarantee you will see Galchenyuk in both roles. Sullivan will let the players decide this one. If Galchenyuk and Malkin form together, are put together, and they just go off, they're playing good hockey, they're filling the net, they'll stick together. Simple as that. Otherwise, if it's a little bit of a work in progress, a push-pull kind of thing, you could see Galchenyuk drop down to that third line with Nick Bjugstad and Patrick Hornquist, potentially, if that's what the Penguins decide. That's a hell of a third line, isn't it? Galchenyuk could provide some of the finish that line lacked last spring. So that's where I'm at on that. By the way, can you hear the air conditioner? Is the sound okay? I really don't want to turn the air conditioner off. I came in, I walked from the north side, and I was pouring in sweat. My face kind of looked like that. Of course, that face has a lot more hair than I do. My shirt is drying. I had looked like I was running or working out. Let's see here. I don't hate Jack Johnson, but for salary cap reasons, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. As long as if you say Jack Johnson is the player to trade, there's a legit contention with that. In fact, Jim Rutherford agrees with you that that's a possibility. Are the Pens going to sign the other Matt Murray? I don't know. I think we'll know a bit more after the prospect rookie camp. I can't say he jumped out at me at the development skills camp. Of course, that was 3-on-3, too. Goalies get lit up in those situations. Brian says Hornquist is a big part of this team. I would look to move other players before him. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Z Smooth comes back. Okay, where are you? What would you say is a reasonable role for Jack Johnson on a Stanley Cup contender, of course? Look, haven't I been through this like a bazillion times? The Penguins, with Jack Johnson in the lineup, from the time that their team finalized on February 25th through the end of March, were statistically the best team. Most scoring chances compared to least allowed. Most high danger chances overall. They were 5th in scoring chances for, 6th in scoring chances against. What do you want to improve there? I mean, literally, what do you want to improve? from a defensive standpoint. Yeah, I mean, ideally, you'd have Jack Johnson as a big third pairing guy based on what we saw in season 1. Although, the one thing I can't get around with Johnson, 3 years ago, 2 seasons removed, he had 42 points, 41, 42 points for Columbus. The guy does have more offensive skill than we saw. It very well could be in year 2, if he sticks around, we see a bit more confidence in that. We see a lot more. Don't think for a second that the voluminous, ridiculous, disgusting, stupid, narrow-minded, head and colon social media reaction to Jack Johnson didn't get noticed by the player and players. So I'll never ask the question, but I have wondered a little bit if it was so ugly that if he, maybe he pulled back a bit and focused on defense a good bit last year. Just a thought. I mean, you saw when he played the left side, he was just fine alongside Justin Schultz. He provided the aspects of the game that Schultz doesn't. So can the Penguins win a Stanley Cup with Johnson, Schultz as their second pairing? Yeah. Absolutely. Was St. Louis's defensive pairings any great shakes? I mean, they had some talent there. Peter Angelo and Colton Parayko, etc. But they also had Bertuzzo in there. And who's the other guy that I'm drawing a blank now, 6 weeks after the Stanley Cup final? 4 weeks. Peter Angelo obviously is good. That's not who I'm thinking of. They had somebody else who was a bit of a thumper and not a great skater or offensive guy. Anywho. Okay. Hi, Dan. Nice shirt. Thanks, Ron. Can't see the sweat. Well, that's good. Do you think Pettersson with Schultz? I think it's a possibility, Ron. But here's the thing I don't like about that potential pairing. It would be very soft. That pairing would not really have one person in the mix able to get on the wall and bang around and fish out loose pucks, able to really push back against defenders, crashing the net, going hard to the crease and the slot. That's really not Pettersson or Schultz's game. Johnson provided that. So, as an opposing coach, I'm telling you what I would do with that duo, Pettersson-Schultz, playing 20, 22 minutes a night. I'd go at them. I would go at them hard with my second or third line, and I would say just crash them. Spend the first period just destroying them and go right at the net. Make them stop you. That's what I would do against them. And that kind of worries me because there's no defense to that. How confident are you in the squad that you are seeing forming? What plausible move would make the Penguins the best contender this season? I don't know that my job is to be confident, Kagan. I think my job is to kind of analyze and let you feel the emotion. I think, as currently constituted, adding Pettersson and Czar into the mix. Maybe losing to Smith and, some of the depth. However it shakes out. Tanev, I see as a great third liner for the Penguins. Maybe even a second line guy. Really filling that role that Carl Hagelin played. I will say this. If you care about the Penguins winning and don't necessarily mind a different style, a fast, thumping, gritty style that just suffocates opponents with a good forecheck and back checking and takes away opportunities and plays 200 feet and, smears a few guys on the glass, maybe struggles a little bit to score. They'll need a couple more scoring chances to fill the net. But if you don't mind that, the Penguins are really strong, physically strong. They're deep. They're committed kind of players with energy and youth. So do you have confidence in that? The truth is, for the team to succeed, Matt Murray has to be the best player on the ice. We will score goals. We just need him healthy to stop shots. It's also not a coincidence. As the Penguins' scoring chances allowed went way down, Murray's numbers went way up. Funny how that works, isn't it? Do I see Tanev getting a chance in the top 6? I do. I don't know that he's the first choice. I can see Sullivan getting a wild hair one night. Tanev has his legs going. He's got some hop. He's showing some hands. Whatever line he's on creates a few scoring chances, much like Brian Rust and Zach Aston Reese both did last season when they both got the tap to go up beside Malkin because they were having a couple of good games, showing some energy, creating some chances. They got that tap. I can see Tanev getting that tap as well. Absolutely. Josh Yowie said the Penguins shouldn't watch a single second of the Stanley Cup Finals. Josh and I will disagree on that one. I think Boston actually is a wonderful model and something the Penguins can look at. Boston's actually older than the Penguins. But in terms of keeping your talent, refilling with young skill players, integrating them into the lineup, but also making them earn it. Some young defenders who move the puck well. I think the Penguins could actually upgrade that area. I mean, go down the left side. Dumoulin, Johnson, Pettersson. Pettersson moves the puck well. And he actually scored, 14 points with the Penguins? So, as many as Daniel Sprong did 5-on-5. But the left side really doesn't have much of an offensive bone to them. Whereas Boston has more of an offensive defense and defensive defenseman, too. So I think Boston has a wider range of mix, which can be emulated. And look how hard those teams played. There's a reason they both made the Stanley Cup final this year. Dan something. Okay, something. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say there, MMG10. Do me a favor, like and share the video as we dive into this. I feel like Animal House. They put up a picture of Kent Dorfman. Should I give? Should I give Eric Stratton? Yeah, Eric Stratton's speech. I haven't done one of these in a while. My speech is a little off as well. All right, I admit it. He's a real zero. But who among you, freshmen, weren't? I mean, Boone, your face looked like a pepperoni pizza. I myself was so obnoxious, the seniors used to beat me up on a daily basis. At this point, you start throwing the beer cans. Oh, you didn't know my last name. All right, MMG. The Gang 84 says, I think Poulin will make the squad. I want to see more from Poulin. I was thinking about this on the walk over. Poulin and Laguerre. I'm still not sure how you pronounce it just yet. I've heard it both ways. In the development camp a few weeks ago, Poulin wasn't a power forward. He was sneaky. He really showed a high hockey IQ. He was one of the best players on the ice every time. But he wasn't a power forward. And if I'm being, if I put a little knock on the kid, his shot was okay. It wasn't, I don't think it was NHL quality just yet. I don't think his shot was NHL quality. Now, Nathan Laguerre, on the other hand, that kid dented the posts when he shot. And he was a power forward. He went right at guys. He took the puck from guys with malice and force. He was brutish. And in that analysis, I would like to see, I'd like to see a lot more of both kids in the 5-on-5 prospect tournament that they'll have in September. I assume they're having it this year. I don't recall seeing the email yet. Anyway, I would like to see a lot of those guys in the tournament and in training camp against men. I think Laguerre could be a fourth-line guy who chips in 10 goals, kind of rookie year type deal. I really do. They say his skating needed work, a little bit of work. His burst needed a bit. In that development camp, it was tough to see it. Same with Poulin, really, as well. Tough to see, where their skating wasn't far off the NHL radar. So from that standpoint, that was really good news. I like Laguerre's chances based on the first reading. Now, when the prospect tournament hits, I reserve the right to flip that 180 or say both have no chance or say both should be in. Whenever you get a first-round pick or a guy who was graded in the first round like Laguerre was, I think it's prudent to give them a shot. And if they do well in training camp, give them the 9 games. Give one or both the 9 games. I'm not quite sure how the salary cap works on that. I guess would probably count about $600,000 a player, wouldn't it? Or is it $900,000 with the ELC for Poulin being a first rounder? Yeah, is that Dean Wormer's picture? No, that was Jack Johnson. I love Ray Romano. Okay. Do you see Cahoon tearing it up next year? Very excited about him. Let's get into Dominic Cahoon while we're on the topic, shall we? Let me put up something on the screen here. There we go. Why is it fans are so excited about Dominic Cahoon, but we're so infuriated down on trashing Dominic Simone? Do you know the difference between those two players physically is? 5 pounds. Do you know the difference in statistics between those two players? About 7 points. Do you know the difference in roles those two players played for their teams last year? Cahoon in Chicago, where he played on all 4 lines, both wings, and can play the middle. And Dominic Simone, who played on all 4 lines and both sides, 7 points. So, yeah, you have every right to be curious what kind of step Cahoon will take next season with the Penguins. Don't get too excited and peg him in for 50 or 60 points just yet. He scored 37. He's a shifty, crafty player with a real good hockey IQ and, a guy who can play with talented players and a guy who can play with grinders. I think Dominic Simone, just because the Penguins were a bit disappointed that his hands didn't keep pace with his game, I think they expected him to score a few more points as well. I think Simone starts as the 13th forward, but the first injury and Simone's in the lineup, do I see him tearing it up? Either guy tearing it up next year? No. I think 40 points for both guys is a realistic target. What do I think of Renner's Krastenbergs? Well, Kyle Bachman, I have no idea. Would the Pens trade Jari to Vancouver for Markstrom? Why, Mormon? Markstrom makes $4.85, is it? Or $4.25? Or $5.85? They just can't trade, can't bring on that much salary. Is Kahun a little faster than Simone? We'll see. That's really tough to say. I think maybe a hair, but maybe Kahun just plays a little faster than Simone. Simone is a little bit more of a east-west guy who creates. So, but I don't know the answer to that question. All right, who downvoted me? You got to tell me why you downvoted me. That's the deal, okay? You can downvote me all you want. You got to sack up and tell me. What else do you want to get to here? Because it better not have been any pictures of Leo. Let's talk about this guy. Oh, not that guy. This guy. Mike Sullivan. I read Tim Benz in the Trib today. They've been kind of dissecting for a while now an interview from a couple weeks ago Mike Sullivan did, and kind of parsing it as we go. And Tim kind of said, okay, Sullivan probably makes it a couple more years at least, but if the Penguins start sloppy again or the team isn't coming together, Sullivan gets fired. And I guess that's potentially true. Although, it's hard to see the Penguins having chemistry issues negatively. Look, with all the new faces from last year to this year and guys getting new roles and guys stepping up and all of the upheaval from last year's roster to next year's roster, it'll take a while to gel. I'm talking 20, 30 games. Look, St. Louis sucked into January last year. I mean, they were absolutely suck out loud bad. They won the Stanley Cup because it finally came together. Whatever it was, it all came together. Didn't hurt that their goaltender in net began to stop shots, Jordan Binnington, and not Jake Allen. Huge help. Makes the team feel a lot better about itself, too. So Sullivan will have a very long leash next season, especially with a 4-year contract. And I would be very surprised if the Penguins did not consult team leaders, or at least one team leader, when they handed Sullivan a contract. Right, if Sidney Crosby says, listen, guys, it's not going to work. Sullivan's a great guy, but I don't think he can get the room back. Do you think the Penguins would have dished him a 4-year contract? I don't. I'm theorizing. That seems about the way most things go, though, right? So if Sidney Crosby endorses it, and Crosby is buying in, everyone else is going to follow. There's just no doubt in my mind on that one. Obviously a lot of unknowns next season. I'm not going to say they're going to miss the playoffs, and I'm not going to say they're going to win the Stanley Cup. We're going to find out. A lot about the league and where the Penguins fit and the speed and the physicality, and do they have enough offense? Is there enough offense from the defense? Is all of these things we are going to find out. I think if you're excited about winning or losing, I'm excited about all of those storylines. Really, I really am. I'm very intrigued and interested because I don't know what the Penguins are capable of yet, and that's kind of interesting to me. Last season, go back and look at my preseason predictions. Man, I kind of nailed it. I mean, I really, I changed. I waffled during March when the Penguins were playing really well. But what I wrote in October, I should have been in Vegas. Okay, Could we have a 1A and 1B in the crease with Murray and Jari? I think Jari would have to earn that 1B status. It would not be given. But in a few starts, if he looks like an NHL goalie and begins to push, then it's possible. I think Sullivan has a handle on Matt Murray, where Sullivan would use Jari just enough to kind of push Matt Murray, just enough to make him uncomfortable, but not enough where it's 1 and 1A or 1A, 1B kind of deal. Sign Jason Giambi? Absolutely. Hang on. We're just going to put that user in a timeout. We put Ray Romano in a timeout. I think the Pens are done making big moves, says Sean. I think it will be very interesting to see what happens next offseason with some of the older players. Sean, there aren't many older players left. Look, in the top 12 forwards, only 3 are 30 and older. Crosby, Malkin, Hornquist. Everyone else is 27 and younger. Defense-wise, yeah, you've got a couple 30-year-olds. Johnson and Letang. Everyone else is on the young side, 27 and younger. Goodbranson is 27, right? I don't think he turned 28 yet. Forgive me if I'm off by a few months. My throat's getting sore. How is the air conditioner, by the way? Can you hear that little rumble? Is it distracting, annoying, kind of for you? Let's see here. Penn should go after Ethan Bear and Matthew Barzal. 30 teams should go after Matthew Barzal. That's for sure. Who else is going to wear the A for the Pens next season? All I know is Malkin, Letang, and Hornquist. Well, yeah. Let's see. Brian says goodbye. Thanks. All right. Thank you, Brian. Yep, we timed out Ray Romano there, so I can't see what he is saying. I wish I had better news for you. I wish I had more in-depth, like some trade scoops or some rumors, but really, got nothing. Really don't have anything for you. The Penguins are going to make their RFAs sweat this out, especially Marcus Pettersson. And I think it's accepted by both sides at this point that Pettersson will be the last of the 3 to get a contract. Again, I could be being snowballed by the folks on the other side of the curtain on that one, but I don't think so. I don't know. The one thing I'm going to be writing here, and I haven't gotten around to, actually I haven't gotten around to my Brandon Tanev film study. I haven't done my Laguerre or Sam Poulin film study, and I haven't done this column yet. What happens to the Penguins' defense after Jack Johnson? I know it's easy to jump up and down. Yay, get rid of Jack Johnson, get rid of Jack Johnson. I know a lot of you. I wish to God I could soften that opinion a bit, but my best efforts have failed. Inform Houston. Prepare the world for bad news. If the Penguins were to trade Jack Johnson, put their puzzle together. Look at the GM for the day candidates. Look at the ones who wanted to trade Jack Johnson and what they wound up with on their defense pairings. And you can't realistically, I mean, sure, you can put the rose-colored glasses or the black and gold blinders or the anti-Jack Johnson glasses on and tell me that it'd be just fine. Another media person said, oh, they'd be just fine with Ruedel and Ricola on the third pairing. And I was like, wait, what? What kind of, I mean, Ricola would have to take a big step forward to handle second pairing duties with Justin Schultz. I mean, that'd be a huge step forward for Ricola in his game Do you know the one Penguins defenseman who was left on the roster at the end of the season who had a worse Corsi than Jack Johnson? Riikola. By several points. When Jack Johnson wasn't with Phil Kessel, he was about 47%. Riikola was at 41%. That's rough for a defenseman who can skate it out, for a defenseman with his skills. I mean, it really was rough. And it's one of those cases where the eye test didn't tell me that. I thought Riikola was further along, and I looked into the numbers and saw how bad Juuso Riikola's numbers were. It was a little bit shocking to me. Straight up, it caused me to rethink some of the things I was maybe going to write, thinking about writing in the forming stages of. What happens to the Penguins' defense? Dumoulin Letang, Riikola Schultz, Pettersson Goodbranson, or Pettersson Schultz. Got that really soft middle pairing. Riikola Goodbranson. Okay, that one might work. That's really your only shot at it. And I just don't know. I don't think the Penguins are better off in that scenario without Jack Johnson. That's the problem. I would like to see more offense on the blue line, too. Some more finish. They've got no finish back there except for Chris Letang. So the Penguins either have to make a massive overhaul, and I'm talking 2 or 3 changes, or they almost can make like a minute change. It's almost one or the other back there, in my thinking, the way things are right now. Do I think losing Phil and Cullen negatively impacts the personality of the locker room? All right, Ryan, if you think losing Phil Kessel negatively impacts the locker room, I would recommend going back and reading the last 6 weeks of Penguins analysis on Pittsburgh Hockey Now, some of the inside stories, other outlets. The Athletic, I know, had a lot of stuff on it. No, losing Phil Kessel does not negatively impact the Penguins internally. Absolutely not. Losing Cullen, absolutely, it does. Cullen was constantly being sought for counsel, even by experienced players. Yeah, he was one guy who could call out Crosby and Malkin. He was a guy who could, talk to the rookies, and he really was an extraordinary locker room presence, from everything I can tell and everything everyone said. Aston Reese loved the guy. I mean, he would be busting on him, laughing, but it came from such a place of caring that it was amusing. It really was. If Galchenyuk is on the third line, who is Malkin's running mate? Well, you can put Tanev on that left wing. You can put Brian Rust on that left wing. You can put Cahoon on that left wing. You can put Dominic Simone on that left wing. You can put Zach Aston Reese on that left wing. So there's 5 options. I don't know who else. Who's our Euro Scouts? Oh, who are the Euro Scouts? You can hop onto the Penguins website and see that. Patrick Alvin is the director of scouting. I believe he came from that Euro pipeline, and that's one of the reasons why the Penguins have this great pipeline to Finland right now. Juuso Riikola. Emil Larmi, the goaltender. That kid was just a lot of fun. The 2 7th-round draft picks that they snagged this year in the draft. So there's a lot of Finns coming the Penguins' way. How is Kalen Addison developing? I only got to see him one game during the development camp scrimmage, and that's 3-on-3. He's a smart player. He's heady. I think his shot is weak. I wouldn't call it mediocre. I would call it weak, below average. He's going to need to put some muscle on now. I had a chat with him in the locker room. Just friendly guy. It was kind of funny. He made sure to shake my hand and make eye contact. Hello. I appreciated that very much. It's like, kid, you're the player. I'm the reporter. I'm supposed to, extend my hand to you first. But I'd certainly made note of the manners that Kalen showed. He's only 19. He can go back to juniors one more year. I think that's the most likely route for him. He is starting to fill out a little bit. He's a little heavier than he was last year. And I think then the next step as you begin to fill out is to add some muscles to keep working on those things like adding a bit heavier of a shot. Who are we going to protect in the expansion draft? Ask me that again in December or January, right? I think right now we can probably circle 12 solid candidates, but they have to get. We'll see what happens with Aston Reese in a contract, Jared McCann in a contract, Matt Murray and a contract, and I could see them leaving Goodbranson and Johnson unprotected. I could maybe, if Hornquist has another down year, do the Penguins roll the dice and leave him exposed? A lot of that stuff can happen. Can I talk about who Ruedel, Trotman, and Riikola are as players and how they'll be used? That seems like an essay question. But I can handle that. Ad Fazdedev. Chad Ruedel is a good puck-moving defenseman, well-suited for the 7th role in the NHL. He's shown the ability to come in, spot duty, 2 months of inactivity, jump in and play with speed and precision. The one thing that is still a bit of a knock on him is his size and how it relates to him engaging in puck battles. He can kind of get run over a little bit. Zach Trotman won't get run over. Dude is a brick outhouse. Maybe his skating lacks that explosion you'd like to see. His puck moving is average. So again, I think he is a perfectly serviceable 7th defenseman for the Penguins. If a lefty goes down, insert Trotman. If a righty goes down, you insert Ruedel. Riikola is a guy I want to see a lot more of next year. He's definitely got good skates. As a European, because they often play on their off wing, Riikola can play on the right side and had some success last season with Olimata, I thought. The numbers didn't show it, though. My eye test showed he had some pretty good success with Olimata. And, see my name. There it is. And I think if he takes another step forward, there's a lot to like about Riikola's game. But he is 25. How much more will he develop is a legitimate question. So I will say on him, the jury is out. I don't want to label him. I don't want to limit him. But by the same token, I don't want to overestimate him either. He's fast. He certainly has kind of smile as he hits you. And he can move the puck. He really could be a top 6 guy if he takes that next step. Let's see here. Johnson is an old vet and won't change out of his poor skating, breakout passes, and such. I'm not mentioning JJ anymore in the show. I think there's a good chance Jari could push to be an NHL starting caliber goalie. So does he. There is no question whatsoever that Tristan Jarry wants to be an NHL starting goaltender in October. He thinks he's, he can. How do I want to phrase this? Because I have to use the very specific and precise language here, and I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to screw up here. But Jari wanted his NHL shot last year. He thought he was ready, but DeSmith was there, and that had to sort itself out. And he went down to Wilkes-Barre and played lights out. Behind a rough team, Jari was really good. And I don't really know how to say anything more. Those are just the facts, right? Given the chance, Jari would definitely jump at the chance to be a starting goalie, even just to compete for it. No question about that. I've said lines are built on two players. I have, with the third player as a wild card. Gensel is Crosby's number 2. Who would be Malkin's number 2 if Galchenyuk isn't? Don't know. I really don't. I don't think Malkin had a number 2 last season either. You saw Kessel being flopped around. Here's a funny thing. You stuck with, I should end it on this note, right? There's one player out, a free agent who's unsigned, who could jump in at left wing. Great playmaking left winger, very good in big games, very serious, very intense, knows his way around the Penguins organization. Do you get where I'm going yet? Derek Brassard is out there, and at times I shook my head, like, wow, what could he do? I thought his jump on the left wing last year was really good. Just didn't get the chance to do it before they dealt him. And the Penguins really could have him as a song, for a song. The Hockey News cited him as a prime candidate for a PTO in training camp. I mean, Derek Brassard had 60 points a couple years ago in training camp on a PTO somewhere. That's crazy. But that's where things are with him. I wonder if the Penguins... Let me put it this way. No, the Penguins probably would not be tempted by that. I, on the other hand, would be very tempted by that. To bring him in as a left wing and slot him beside Malkin, make Malkin the shooter on the line, make Brassard the playmaker, add Russ for some puck retrieval or whatever you want. I'd be interested by it. That's all I'm saying. I know. You're like Kingerski. You're in crazy town. And I fully admit that. That's I'll admit that's out there. Should have gotten Jacob Chychrun, Kyle says. Chychrun, Kyle. Chychrun was spelled Chichrun. Chychrun. Jacob Chychrun. All right. Not bashing JJ, just saying he has less of a chance to improve than Ricola. To be fair, though, JJ is a bit overpaid. Is he really overpaid at $3.25 million? Here's the last thing I'm going to say on JJ. Middle of last season, there were about 150 veteran defensemen in the NHL. Not on their first or second contract, not who passed through waivers, 150. 152, 153, we're round number 150. Do you know where Jack Johnson ranked in terms of that salary? 105. Bottom third of defensemen in the NHL. So is he overpaid? Speaking of Brassard, can I think of a bigger mistake by JR than not signing Bonino? Oh, I don't know, Aaron. I don't think that was a mistake. I don't know that Nashville has been entirely happy with their investment. Bonino left it all in Pittsburgh. I mean, his legs took a beating. Broken leg and all. There are considerably less miles on his tires. And to give him that 4 years, what was it, $4.5 million that they paid Nick Bonino, I wouldn't have done it either. I really would not have signed Nick Bonino with that kind of money. So now, I definitely, in Jim Rutherford's shoes, would have been far more aggressive getting a third-line center in. I think that cost the Penguins the 2017-18 Stanley Cup. I really do. That whole chaos and that whole process of finding one and bringing Brassard in at the end and he not meshing with Kessel and Brassard gets hurt and I would have been very aggressive in the summer of 17-18 in finding a permanent replacement for that third line deal. If Galchenyuk doesn't work with Gino or Sid, I think the Penguins should look to trade him. Very possible. He is in the last year of his contract, so the Penguins have a lot of flexibility there as well. Look, don't put too much pressure on Galchenyuk. He scored 19 goals last year, but he still didn't score 50 points, did he? He's not a rock-ribbed, bona fide 60-point top six guy. He could be. Maybe he is. Maybe we find that out together. But as of right now, he's not. So don't expect too much. Okay. Ryan asks, and this will be the last one here. With what you said could happen without any trades and getting to the cap, sending Smith down, etc. Yeah. Glad you're listening. That's cool. I appreciate when someone listens. Would it be difficult to call players up? Yes, it would. I wrote this. I didn't say this on the video today. The Penguins would essentially be trapped with the lineup. If anybody got hurt, they would have to IR them. If anybody needed to be called up, they would have to send somebody down. That's just the way it is. So it's not an ideal situation, and you could not survive all season that way, but it could get you started. It could get you to November, maybe December, when hockey trades start being made again. So, worst case, or look, maybe you can flip an asset like Ruedel or a Trotman or even a Ricola for a similar forward depth piece. Or maybe one of the rookies steps in and takes a depth piece role. Okay, so like and oh, yeah, sure. Now we jump to our highest number of viewers. All right, I will do this. Last call for questions, okay? Does Hallander get a chance this year? I don't think so. I was not impressed with his individual skills in the development camp. I thought his skating was very vanilla, very, step slow, didn't have good edges, didn't have a lot of burst. I didn't think he jumped out at me at all. Now, there is one guy I guess we haven't mentioned yet, Kasper Bjorkqvist, coming from Providence. The difference in talking to Coach Nate Lehman last summer versus this summer. I mean, I did both. I talked to him last June, and I think I talked to him in May this year, Nate Lehman, not Bjorkqvist. And the difference in how the coach saw the player was really stark. Bjorkqvist has done the work, and he's taken another step forward. He's continued to take steps forward. So he's another guy that can't be discounted as coming in on that fourth line as a depth forward. And that's one reason why you could, in fact, kind of go into the season bare bones to see who forces you, what you really have, what moves you can make, what depth you have. It's one possibility. I feel like the wild card is McCann. In what sense, Ron? Wild card how? In terms of playing third line center? In terms of being a left winger in the top six? Yeah, I guess so. I like McCann a great deal more as a left winger. I'll say that. Dode, would you trade Rust for a Cahoon-like forward on an ELC in order to solve the cap issue, or trade J.J. Goodbranson for a limited return and use Ricola as a 6th D? So if I have to choose either or, I'm waiting for the Penguins to make that choice for me, quite frankly. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question because I think Rust and Jack Johnson both fill solid roles. If you trade Brian Rust, that means Dominic Simone and Dominic Cahoon are both in your top 12. I'm not so wild about that. I like one, not both, because of their size and their game. I like one, not both. If they trade one of Jack Johnson or Eric Goodbranson, if they trade one of those guys, I think it's incumbent upon them to get some offense on their blue line and some knuckles on their blue line. It's tough for me to say without knowing what's coming back. Either or, Rust or Johnson, I probably would trade Jack Johnson because I think the Penguins' defense can be overhauled with Justin Schultz as well, perhaps being in that mix of traded and all of that stuff. I think the Penguins could. I think there's some meat on the bone on the NHL trade market where if the Penguins, began flipping that guy for this guy for that guy, I think they could wind up with a solid defense, I think. But I don't know that. And if that's not a possibility and you had to go with Riikola on the second pair, I would trade Rust. McCann as a winger scores 25 to 30 goals. Wow, that's a big tally. I'd say 20 is a bit more realistic. Okay, kids, like and share. Check out Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Do me a favor. And tomorrow, vote on the GM for a day contest. Don't let those a lot of those folks and their hard work go to waste. Check it out. Subscribe to PHN Extra, PHN plus mark there on the website. As of yesterday, we made something official. I didn't announce this. I should have said this at the top of the show. Going forward, 5% of all Pittsburgh Hockey Now subscriptions will be donated to one of the local Pittsburgh food banks. I don't want to say which one because I didn't call them and ask their permission. Obviously, you know which one. I mean, there's the greater, but I don't want to use them in advertising or, in any way use them. But 5% goes to the local food banks when you subscribe to Pittsburgh Hockey Now. So please do consider that. I'll be turning out daily content through the remainder of July and probably into August as well. I turned out daily content all through August last year. I might have to take a little bit of a vacation this year. So that does it. Much appreciated. I'm going to go grab some lunch. I'll see you in the square. And we'll probably do one more of these after Zach Aston Reese's arbitration hearing, and we know a bit more about what kind of money the Penguins are going to pay, or after the other shoe drops and they do make that trade, we'll probably do one final chat this year. All right, kids, in the meantime, have fun.